Hello racing fans, welcome to another scorching episode of Kohr F1. I'm your host Phil, and today we're previewing the Suzuka Grand Prix in Japan, where tyres scream, engines roar, and pit crews from state kick Sauber. Whatever, perform pit stops, you can fit a toilet break, afternoon nap, and a small bout of aging into. Before we get into the preview, let's look into what is making news off the track. Well, according to multiple news sources, Rocket Balls have had talks with everyone except Nick Defied about a seat at Rocket Balls next year. From Fernando to Carlos to your mother's ex-boyfriend's son-in-law. Now, is it just me? Or is this just Christian posturing to let Max know he's not irreplaceable? Aston Martin have made an offer to Newey, and Max's longtime chief mechanic quits amid Rocket Ball's civil war calamity. Christian seems to have strengthened his power hold over RB with the mighty power of Cocoa Pops. There's a disaster waiting to happen, and we're going to be all over it. Maybe you'll even see some of it yourselves in the near future. Now, away from the telenovela that is RB and over to what we all love best, Formula One. After a weekend off, our racing teams arrive at the land of the rising sun, Japan. 17 corners, 53 laps and over 300 kilometers. Anyone told Logi what those are yet? Are what we can expect at this challenging and exciting track in Suzuka. Many see this as a first stop on the Max revenge tour after he suffered a DNF in the last race. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I would not be surprised if there turns out to be a bit more competition than expected. With the disarray being shown behind the scenes with his team, particularly losing his chief mechanic, could we see reliability issues continue for RB? Might we see a possible repeat from the red team? If Carlos qualifies P1, I would almost think he's a sure thing to take the win. I think McLaren are looking solid and could be right in the mix for a podium spot also. Let's just say I'm not fully writing this race off just yet. Now, if we look further behind those teams, we have George, Lewis, Lance and Fernando, all in the 5th onward range. Lewis has had a terrible start to the year. I think he's already thinking about next season. Lance is doing consistent work, not that anyone gives him credit for it. I think he's doing a solid job and deserves to be recognized for it. His teammate is one of, in my opinion, best of all time, and Lance is keeping up with him. A team that I think would be next in line at the bottom end of the points list would be Kevin and Nico, particularly Nico. They are doing so much better this year than anyone ever expected them to. I, for one, love to see it. The wild card in all of this are these drivers who could possibly break into the top 10 based on recent performances. Yuki has had a great start to the season, and being his home race, he might just surprise us and break into the points even higher than he has before. Another best of the rest that could possibly break into points is Alex. I think he's feeling a bit of pressure to deliver some points to a pointless team of Willy Slams. Barring some on-track drama, I think the rest of the teams and drivers are likely to be out of the points. So now let's put the pressure on myself and put on the prediction hat. Who is going to have an absolute disaster of a week? Honestly, I immediately thought of Danny Avocado, but my biggest disaster pick is going to be Max. Will it be a DNF? Possibly. In my mind, with the RBR team both having reliability issues in Melbourne, and with Max's chief mechanic suddenly quitting, who is to say the issues won't continue? If the car is even slightly impacted, one of those red boys could race on by to P1. So there's my pick for biggest disaster. Biggest bold performance? For that pick, I'm going to surprise some by going with Carlos. I think he performed so well in Melbourne, his confidence will be through the roof. That confidence, and being even more healed up, might propel him to a second win. Biggest surprise? I'd love to see Logi Bear give us a surprise and land in the points after being bumped off the grid through no fault of his own in Melbourne. That would be a feel-good surprise. There's a lot to look forward to as we head into the 2024 Suzuka Grand Prix. Stay tuned for more coverage as the event progresses. For now, let's activate our DRS and speed on out of here. Like and subscribe for more of this nonsense.
Hey Phil, I'm still the favorite, right? Hey, who turned out the light?